backpack. What up?
You know Wayne made it.
Welcome. This is the Kyle Hartman Project, episode 23. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. We have a great episode lined up for you guys today. I want to give a special shout out and a huge thank you to Backpack Boy Beats for all of the music that you hear on the show. And today what we're going to be talking about is motivation and habit. Throughout the episode, I will be explaining how to start triggering your brain and controlling how to use your motivation to actually produce results and goals that you set for yourself. Today is Sunday, sitting in my bedroom closet recording this episode, and I just could not be more grateful for all of you listening to it right now. Alright guys, I'm just going to get right into this episode. I have so many things that I want to cover. It's going to be a very good episode. This will be the last episode without a guest for a couple episodes to come. I've booked about 2 months out in advance with people to come onto the show. So I have 3 guests that I'm going to be presenting on this episode to give you an idea of what to look for on the show. Along with that, I've been getting so many questions regarding my fitness and some of the things that I've been doing to change my habits. So we're going to get into a little bit of what I've decided to do for myself, how things have worked for me. I'm going to introduce to you guys 2 of my coaches and my training program that I'm in as well. I also have a pretty big announcement to caveat my fitness journey, which we will get into just a little bit later in the show. Along with this, all these updates, I have a very big, important update for everybody because I want you guys to start following my journey a little bit more now that I've got more stuff to put out for you. And so in April, we're going to talk about this later in the show as well, but in April, I will be going to the Long Beach Grand Prix, which is a huge racing spectacle every year. But what's important about that is who I'm going with and what I'll be doing. So we're going to talk a lot about that. I can't wait to share some of the news that I've been getting lately with all of you. If you guys are a first-time listener, thank you so much for giving me your time, for coming to my page. It would mean the world if you could comment, let me know where you're listening from, subscribe. I would love to chat with all of you. So don't feel like if you listen to my show that I won't reach out and get in touch with you guys, because I love any of you that, gives me your time in your ear. And that means the world to me because I know the world we live in right now, time is everything. So please just give me a comment. Let's chat. Let's build a relationship and see how we can bring value to the rest of the world. The big part of the show today, and you'll see this in the title, motivation versus habit. Now, this ties into most of everything that I want to discuss on the show already. And so I just thought it was a great sort of theme. And that basically I want to keep those 2 words in your guys' head throughout the show. So just think about motivation for a second. What is your interpretation of motivation? So just, take 4 seconds, 5 seconds and think to yourself, what motivates you? What do you think of when you hear motivation? Is it a YouTube video? Is it somebody giving a speech? Is it, a certain instant in your life where you were in a group setting or a team environment and somebody got everybody riled up? Is that what you think of when you think of motivation? And then on the other hand, you have habit. So think about habit. What does habit mean to you? When you think about success, what do these 2 words mean to you? Do you know the importance of the 2 words? So that's kind of what I want to dig into this episode. And we're going to start by talking about my fitness journey because let me just tell you guys, I was in the Army. So, we obviously have to stay physically fit there. However, I never once gave myself any credit for my physical condition during my time in the Army because I never really did anything exterior from the Army's physical training. So, we would do PT every single day. I would work out almost daily, but I was never really going to the gym in the evening or the weekends. I was never really doing any work other than push-ups or sit-ups, maybe in my barracks to get ready for a PT test. But so I was never one of those individuals who was really ever driven to go to the gym or to form a certain appearance. It just never was something I was interested in. Now, one of the biggest things for me, and I'm still trying to analyze this, maybe some of you listeners can chime in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are on this part. For me, I was always just very confident being who I was. I was skinny, tall, and just never had really any desire to go get buff or, fit. And so that was kind of always my excuse not to go to a gym. But when we think about motivation and habit, obviously there was no habit within my physical fitness lifestyle up until probably about 9-10 weeks, maybe about 11 weeks ago. And so motivation, that's where I see motivation start to slip. If you are really only driven off of motivation, in my opinion, your goals won't last. The things that you want to achieve won't become achievable, or they won't be achieved. And what I mean by that is, if you take my example of being in a gym, it can never have been done up until recently. And the reason was, I would only ever try to go to the gym if I was motivated to go that time. So whether it was, talking to somebody who goes and they talked me into going with them, or, it was the new year and how everybody flocks to the gym every January, February, and then the gym dies back off, about March. And so that's motivation, in my opinion. And so when we think about motivation, I think motivation is crucial. You have to self-motivate. You have to build yourself up. You have to tell yourself to stay positive and to stay grateful. So motivation is definitely just as important as habit. But what I want you guys to understand is how to manipulate motivation to form habits. What I've been able to do for myself was basically find more value in myself. And so on my hunt for success, and, ever since my son was born, and I've had this fire under my ass, to get my life together, a lot of things started to just open up to me. And once you finally start dedicating your life to becoming successful, you shortly realize that success is almost binary. In my opinion, it is binary, but I don't know if everybody would agree with that. What I'm saying is, if you're not successful, use motivation on instances like New Year's and getting around the right people once every now and again to go to the gym. If you truly want to be successful, you will find a way to motivate yourself to stay in a gym. So you're looking at more of a bigger picture. So for me, it wasn't my physique. It wasn't getting more muscle mass. It wasn't looking a certain way that motivated me to go to the gym and to work as hard as I've been working every single day. My success and how I value myself now caused me to want to motivate myself to form the right habits for success. And so one thing I want you guys to look up, or one person I want you guys to check out, is Mel Robbins. She has a great talk on one of my favorite shows, Impact Theory. And she talks a lot about motivation being garbage. And that's out of context, obviously, but she's saying motivation is garbage when it comes down to ultimate success and forming habits to become successful. So if you want to be successful in fitness, here's my suggestion to you. Find a way to know the value of your health on a long scale, on a bigger scale. So think about where you want to be in 40 years versus 2 weeks from now, trying to get your summer beach bod. And I think if you genuinely want to take care of your body and your health and your well-being so that you can become successful at whatever it is that you want to be successful at, I think then you will too agree that motivation is sort of garbage on the upfront. One other thing that makes a big difference too is your decisions. And Mel had a pretty good quote. She said, "Your life comes down to your decisions, and if you change your decisions, you'll change everything." And what she meant by that was, you're just one decision away from a better opportunity, a better job, a better house, anything that you want, really. You're just a decision away from finding that or pursuing that and getting it and achieving those goals. You have to stop waiting until you feel like doing something, because forming habits to become successful are hard. They're not fun. That's just the bottom line. And I think that once we can understand there is no shortcut to success, then our lives become a lot easier, because we start making the right decisions. We start forcing our mind past motivation. When that motivation ends, you have to play a trick on your mind, because your brain, scientifically, your brain is scared to get out of your comfort zone. When you give your brain a signal that it's out of its comfort zone, your brain hesitates. And Mel talks a lot about this too. So when one can start to realize how to trick their brain, and so that's kind of how I tricked my brain into fitness was, I knew that I had a son out there who was going to look up to his dad. I knew I had a son out there who was going to have a lot of questions from his early days. And so in the back of my mind, the trick I was playing on my brain was, what are you doing right now so that you have something to tell your son, when you weren't spending time with him, what were you doing? And for me, that was powerful, because, looking at who I was before now, it would have been nothing. It would have been a deadbeat. And so that was my motivation, but my decisions led to forming the right habits. And now I can tell you, it's just like driving a car. Going to the gym has become second nature to me. I get stressed out when I can't go to the gym on certain days, and it feels better than ever. Once you become second nature to things that you once had to learn, you'll find that opens up your world to even more possibilities, one level ahead of that. So just conquer your health, make the right decision. If people around you are holding you down from being successful, then you have to make the decision to isolate yourself from that. Moving on from there, I want to introduce my two coaches, Grant Eilertson from episode 14, and then M. Haas, who is actually coming up on the show. And they are both coaches, motivators, business, entrepreneurs. They are just one of the most incredible teams I've ever seen. They have Raise the Bar training, which is the 12-week program that I decided to make a decision to join. Now, anybody that knows the true old me knows that I used to hate accountability. I never wanted anybody over my shoulder, honing down on me. And I think that the problem with that was because I myself wasn't accountable for my own actions. So once I finally matured and realized that I don't know everything, and I won't become successful like I think I will unless I start making the right decisions and forming the right habits. And so that's when Grant and I talked. Grant became not only my fitness coach, but he became my business coach as well. He was my youngest guest on the show. I believe he still is. He's 21. He was 21 on episode 14. I think he might have had a birthday. I think he's 22 now. But anyway, go down below, check their links. I will post the Raise the Bar link and everybody's social links. Grant Eilertson, M. Haas. If you have any questions, these guys put out so much amazing content for free online. So just following their pages. Grant has a daily vlog. M is starting a vlog. She's possibly going to be doing a podcast in the future. These guys are content gurus, and it's not your typical fitness junk. Their content has helped me to learn so much more than I ever thought possible with just a few short weeks. So it would mean the world to go give them a like, a follow, a subscribe. Please reach out. They aren't going to bite you. If you have any questions, you can approach me first if you like, but it would just mean the world to us if you checked out our community and check out all the progress of all the amazing people in the community as well. And I think you'll find that once you start making those decisions, there's a place for you in this world with a lot of loving people that are only going to push you to success. Moving past that, I want to announce, I have two more guests to announce that are coming up on the show along with M. Haas. We're going to get to that later, though, right before we cut this episode. Just so it's fresh in your mind, you can check out who's coming up on the show, get an idea of what we're going to be talking about there. So one big announcement I have that caveats my fitness journey. I have Sherman's kyphosis, which is a diagnosis that I received in the Army. I was in a couple car accidents, did almost 6 years in the Army, so just had a pretty rough couple years on my back. And I was diagnosed with Sherman's kyphosis, which is basically commonly known as hunchback. It's where your spine starts to have wedging. It can be caused in adolescence. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I have begun to start doing physical therapy on myself, basically, to start working on my back. And of course, doing the physical therapy, I had to do some research. You look up what exercises you should do, how to do them properly, things like that. But what I noticed in my efforts to, conduct my own physical therapy and doing research was there's really not a big selection of resources for this specific condition. And what is really neat about this condition, I know this shouldn't be anything neat about a disease, but I'm always hunting the good stuff. It's very, very relative to certain symptoms from, sitting in an office chair all day or just very common back related issues. And so what I'm going to do, Grant Eilertson and I, who I was just talking about, we had a talk the other day, and I'm actually going to be writing my first ebook. Now, it's going to be some time from now. It'll be within the year probably, but I still am very early with the research phases. I want to make sure I want to do it my way so that it caters to, individuals that I think are basically don't have a lot of resources like I did. So what I saw was there's a lot of doctors who have content, but they aren't really focusing on fitness along with what their content is. Their content is strictly, the science behind why your back is doing what it's doing. Now, there's also a lot of fitness guys who really don't even have the disease, but are trying to put out content. And so what I found was I'm somebody with the disease who's also taking a dive into my fitness journey. And I think that this would be a great way to start sort of a workshop. And so the ebook is going to come out, and then I will be doing an actual workshop with instructional videos, how-tos, and a lot of content to follow the ebook. So really looking forward to that. I was really excited to be able to announce that on the show today. It's just one more thing that, I just decided, you can do this. Why not? Everybody else can do it. You can do something too. And so just another decision, and then putting it out on the show is obviously going to force me to do it. So I already know I'm forced into the habit of doing it. So then once I get my first one done, it's going to start becoming like, driving a car where it'll become second nature. I'll be able to put another one out a lot quicker, a lot smoother, things like that. So once again, keeping motivation and habit in the back of our heads. Just try to think about how you can be working ahead, forcing yourself sometimes into these right habits. You might not like it. You might be scared to death. What if I commit to something and something happens where I have to back out? That's just something you're going to have to face yourself. And, that's where discipline takes a big part. Okay, so moving on from fitness, let's talk a little bit about what I have coming up for the Kyle Hartman Project, as well as my April announcement. Coming up in April, I don't know if you guys have heard episode 12 yet with Warriors on Track, where I talked to my good friend Thomas Woods, who started Warriors on Track. It's a veteran nonprofit that helps veterans who are suffering from TBI and PTSD related injuries, but it also gets them to become pit crewmen for professional race teams, and they actually get to work real live events. So it's a really, really cool opportunity. It's a really great program. We had a great chat on episode 12. Like I said, be sure to check that out. Why I want you to check that out, I've decided I'm going to start taking a bigger role with Warriors on Track. So I'm going to be working very closely with Thomas in the future. And one of the things that we get to do this April is go to the Long Beach Grand Prix. And I could not be more excited about this because racing has just always been my favorite pastime. It's my passion. It's everything that I've always wanted to do. I think when I sort of became a young adult and quote unquote had to grow up, that's where I kind of lost faith that I'd ever have a shot at being a part of something in racing ever again. So this is a really exciting time for me because the podcast has made all of this possible. Without the show, I wouldn't have met Thomas. I wouldn't have met anybody that has opened any other doors. I wouldn't have met my coaches. There's just so many people that I've networked with. And so one thing I want you guys to kind of understand about all this is to keep your chins down on those habits, right? So all the times where I was up late editing a podcast for the next morning, or, all the times I was staying in the gym working hard, when everybody else was out having a good time, showing off on Snapchat, doing their thing, those are the times that it's really hard to stick to what you want to do. And so I want to kind of challenge all of you to take my experience with this podcast, kind of see all the doors that are being opened. A lot of people have been calling me lucky. A lot of people have been saying, you must be so lucky. I don't believe in luck anymore. I think it's hard work. I think it's forming habits instead of forming temporary motivation to become truly successful. And that's what I implore all of you to take into consideration here. And so look for us in April. I will be going all over the Kyle Hartman Project Instagram. I'm going to have the story mode is just going to be on fire that weekend because I won't be able to contain myself with all the racing that's going to be down there. We will have hot passes because we're working the Warriors on Track booth. And so I'll get to walk wherever I want. You'll probably see a lot of drivers. So if you're a racing fan, please comment below. Let me know who your favorite drivers are that might be there. I'll see what I can do to get a picture for you. So let's talk about the next guest on the show a little bit, and then the two guests that are coming up after that. So Jamie Ortiz will be on the show next, I believe. Yes. So Jamie is, this guy has a pretty big list of things that he's accomplished. And so I won't get into all of them right now. I just want to kind of give you guys an idea of who he is, what we're going to be talking about. He's the VP of Global Business Operations for Gemi. He's also the co-founder of Atlas Online, which was acquired by Marvelous Entertainment. And he'll be on the show to talk about his latest project, GetBound.io, which is a very fascinating mobile app that for anybody that watches Hulu or Netflix or Terrarium, any of these movie or show apps where it's very convenient to see your favorite shows. So these guys at Get Bound are basically doing the same thing with sci-fi and thriller and fantasy fiction novels. Now they're also breaking them down into 1 to 10 minute episode style segments that you can either read or listen to. So it's a very fascinating app. He's spent time in Japan. He's done so many things. He's worked in the Japan Baseball Players Association, all kinds of really neat stuff. So I'm very excited to talk to Jamie. He's huge into the gaming world, does his own VR consulting, all kinds of different things. He's played big parts with Call of Duty and also a bunch of role-playing games as well. And so I hope you guys can tune into our episode because he is very successful in my opinion, and I am very excited to bring the value that he's going to bring to the show. And so I hope that you guys can tune in there. After him will be one of my coaches, Em Haas. And I already mentioned Em. She is part of Raise the Bar training. Em has an incredible story. And if you're a woman, and even if you're a man too, she just has so much that you can take from because of her story. And her persistence to make a better life for herself is just truly inspiring. And so I want you guys to tune into that episode as well. And if you have any fitness questions, she is definitely somebody you want to talk to. Coming up after Em, I have Shep in the Wild from Ohio. Shep has 12,000 Instagram followers. He's an Iraq war veteran. He's a brand ambassador, and he is using fitness to combat certain things like depression, anxiety, stress. And so I can't wait to talk to him. He went through a pretty rigorous deployment. We're going to talk in depth on certain things that we can do within our minds to train our brains to make those decisions, to not be depressed. And I'm looking forward to chatting with all these guys and girls. And I hope that you guys are excited too. So to cap off today's episode, I always try to leave a quote. I always ask, a guest if they have a quote. And I thought this quote went so close with what I talked about today on the episode. So it's by Aristotle, so you probably might know what it is. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. So I hope that you guys got something from this episode. Whether you did or didn't, please leave me a comment. It would mean the world. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in to the Kyle Hartman Project. Once again, please be sure to go check out Backpack Boy Beats. He has provided me so much amazing music for the show, and I couldn't be more grateful for that as well.